Hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about voiding a transaction. You can void a transaction inside of PayflowPro using the PayflowPro manager. Now you can only void a transaction on the day that transaction was run. So for example, if the transaction was run today, I can go in and void that entire transaction as is. I could also go in and credit partially the transaction, but for this instance, I'm voiding the entire transaction. However, if this transaction happened yesterday, I would not be able to void it as it has settled and batched. If that was the case, I would need to credit that transaction. So right now, I'm going to go through and void the transaction that was run today. So to do that, first thing I'm going to do is hit reports and find the transaction ID of the transaction I'm going to void. I'm going to go to daily activity report and I'm going to run it for today. So I'm going to run the report and find the transaction that I want to void. In the instance where I want to void the transaction, I want to simply void the delayed capture. This way you're giving them back all the funds that were captured by the device. So I can click on the transaction ID. I can highlight it. So I click on it, I highlight the transaction ID, and I copy it. So I copy the transaction ID for the delayed capture, then I click on Virtual Terminal. Inside here, I go to Single Transaction. This time I leave tender type alone, and I change the transaction type to void. And this will give me the original transaction ID. I go ahead and I paste what I copied previously right inside there, and I click Submit. And it'll come up with the transaction here. I go ahead and click Submit, and it will now void the transaction that I previously run today. So I voided out my delayed capture. And that's how you would go through and void a delayed capture transaction.